Welcome back to the channel, guys. So if you guys have been following me on social media, you guys know that I just closed on a property with an interest rate of 2.75%. Yes, I said 2.75%. And if you guys watch to the end of this video, I'm going to explain why that 2.75% interest rate isn't even the best part of this deal. It gets better. So in this video, we're going to dive into what the strategy actually is, how I found the property, how you can find properties just like this one, and then I'm going to break down the deal and show you why this is an even better deal than what you think it is. And if you're new to the channel, my name is Michael. I am a software engineer based out of the Bay Area, and I show other high-income earners how to invest in real estate to grow their net worth. So let's start off with this. What is this mysterious strategy that's allowing me to buy an investment property with a 2.75% interest rate? Well, I actually made a video about this strategy a couple months ago. I think it was 4 months ago, and exactly 4 months later, I actually used that strategy to close on this property that we're going to talk about in this video. And that strategy is called subject to. So here's the high-level overview of how subject to actually works. Now, the simplest way to explain subject to is when the buyer pays the seller their current equity in the home and then takes over the mortgage payments for the home in exchange for the deed of the home. So it's kind of hard to understand right off the bat, so let me give you an example. For example, let's say a seller bought a property for $400,000 and put $100,000 down. Well, if they bought this property in 2021, there's a really good chance that right now they have a 2.75% interest rate on their loan balance of about $300,000 because again, they bought for $400,000, they put a $100,000 down, $300,000 of loan balance. So the first question you have to ask yourself is, what is the seller's current position? Well, they have a $300,000 loan and they have about $100,000 of equity within their home. Now, in a subject to transaction, or sub to for short, the buyer is basically making an offer to buy the home without getting a new loan. Instead, the buyer will offer to make the full monthly payments for the seller's mortgage, basically becoming the new guarantor of the mortgage payments, meaning you are now responsible for those mortgage payments. Now, once the buyer is the new guarantor of the mortgage payments, the seller still has $100,000 of equity within their home. So, as a buyer, you would have to bring $100K to the table as a down payment to basically pay off the seller for their equity. So basically, you can almost think of it as switching places with the seller. The mortgage that was subject to the seller is now subject to you because you are taking over the mortgage payments and becoming the new guarantor for those monthly payments. And as for the equity that the seller has, the buyer is bringing that money to the deal so that the seller can get their equity and walk away. So that's a high-level view of subject to. If you guys want a more in-depth explanation, then go ahead and leave a comment and I'll go ahead and reply to those comments. Now let's talk about how I found this deal and how you can also find similar deals, because it's actually really easy. So there's a guy named Pace Morby. He's a real estate investor on social media who primarily teaches subject to, like that's his thing. His logo is even like the peace sign for subject to, okay? So if you go to his Facebook group, he actually has a really great community with like 130,000 people all looking to do subject to transactions. And I'm gonna preface this by saying that I am not affiliated with Pace Morby in any way, shape, or form. This is just how I found this deal. What I did is I joined the Facebook group, which is an amazing community. To be honest, I don't think I've ever seen a Facebook group as active as this Facebook group, okay? I thought Facebook was dead, but apparently not his group. Anyways, I joined his Facebook group and I basically posted in that group saying, look, I am looking to buy a property under $500,000, a single family home, and here's my buy box. A buy box is basically the details of a specific property that you are looking to buy. So I said, hey, look, I'm buying $500,000 or less, and I want an interest rate of under 3%. And this is in Texas, by the way. And then within a few hours, a few wholesalers DM'd me and basically said, we're doing deals in Texas. Do you want to get on our email list? And I said, sure. So from there, it's just a matter of connecting with the wholesalers, getting on their email list. And once I was on their email list, then every few days or so, they would maybe send me a list of all the new deals that they found and if I wanted to go ahead and purchase one of their deals. So from there, it was pretty much a matter of looking at each deal that they sent me and determining if that deal works for me or not. So if you are a busy high income earner, I would suggest that you go connect with these wholesalers, just like I did. This is where I found my deal. Now you can go ahead and try to find your own deals, become your own wholesaler, but to be honest, that's a lot of work. I personally just pay the $10,000 wholesale fee and I just don't take on that headache. So now let's break down the deal that I bought and I'll show you why that 2.75% interest rate isn't even the best part of this deal. So here's a screenshot of the actual email I got from the wholesaler. As you can see, the purchase price is about $485, which includes a $10,000 assignment fee for the wholesaler. The total entry fee, which is however much money I need to bring to the table, was roughly $48,000 plus another $5,000 or so for closing costs. I think it was around $5,000 to $7,000. Now, the mortgage that I am now subject to is that 2.75% interest on that $368,000 loan balance. Now that is amazing, especially knowing that if I were to buy that home today with conventional financing, I would get an 8% interest rate. Now the amazing part of this deal that I was alluding to earlier in this video is the text at the bottom of the screenshot that says seller carryback info. So remember how I said that in a subject to transaction, the buyer needs to essentially buy out the seller's equity. So in this case, the seller has about $85,000 of equity in this property. So that means I'd have to bring $85,000 down to give to the seller in order to complete this transaction, right? Well, not really. But if you look at this screenshot, it says here that only $16,735 is going towards the seller. Well, how is that possible? It's because the seller is essentially lending me money to make up for the down payment that I owe them. And what that means is that the seller has $85K of equity, right? They've accepted an offer where the buyer can just give the seller about $16,735 today, and the rest of that $85,000, which happens to be roughly $69,000 remaining, the buyer will pay the seller back over time. So basically think of it like this. You know when you go to Amazon and you want to go buy like a $1,000, let's say dining table or something, Amazon asks you, do you want to pay the full $1,000 today or do you want to put 20% down and pay the rest later? Well, basically the seller is offering that to me. They're basically saying, you don't have to put the full $85,000 down today. Why don't you just give me a portion of that $85,000 and then the remainder, which is $69,000 in this case, why don't you just pay it back to me over time? So for the seller, instead of receiving the full $85,000 up front, they're choosing to essentially lend me a portion of that $85,000 as a benefit for the buyer. And obviously the main benefit for the buyer is that I don't need to bring the full $85,000 down and I can secure and purchase this property with much lower down payment. Now, here's the great part about this seller finance deal. Most seller finance deals will come with interest, but not in this case. For this deal specifically, the sellers have agreed to essentially loan me $69,000 for a 0% interest rate for 30 years, meaning I don't have to pay them back that $69,000 for 30 years. So this is what we call seller financing or seller carryback. While everyone else is getting 8% interest rates, I just secured two different loans on this home. That first loan is the existing loan of $368,000 at 2.75% interest. And then the second loan that I'm essentially getting is the seller finance loan for $69,000 at a 0% interest rate. And both these loans are amortized over 30 years. So when you combine a subject to deal, which is that $369,000 loan, with seller financing or seller carryback, which is what I'm doing in this scenario, that's what we call a hybrid deal according to Pace Morby. So hopefully you guys see how powerful this strategy is. And if I haven't emphasized already how powerful this is, you guys need to look at this real quick, okay? So here's the difference between buying this same home with a 2.75% interest rate versus a 7.5% rate. After 1 year of owning the property at 2.75%, you would have paid $12,252.18 in interest for that loan, and you'd also pay down your principal by $9,792 This is for the first year of ownership. Now, let's look at that same home but with a 7.5% interest rate. After 1 year of owning the property at 7.5% interest rate, you would have paid $33,609.32 in interest only for that loan, and you'd only pay down your principal by $4,148.32 in the first year of ownership. The difference between that 2.75% interest rate and that 7.5% interest rate is this: $21,357.14 more interest for the more expensive loan and $5,644.58 less principal paid with this 7.5% interest rate. That's only for the first year of ownership. If you extend that first year of ownership out by 5 years, 10 years, imagine the difference it makes in terms of how much interest you pay and how fast your loan is actually getting paid down. That's the power of subject to. And this is why 2.75% interest rates are liquid gold in today's economy. And it's the reason why going forward, I'm only looking to do subject to deals, well, more specifically hybrid deals. And if you still aren't convinced that this strategy is super powerful, then here's something that's gonna really blow your mind. If you guys follow me at all on TikTok or on YouTube or watched any of my other videos, you guys know that I talk about the tax benefits of owning real estate, especially if you are a real estate professional. It's one of my favorite terms. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then go watch this video right here on how I avoided over $80,000 in federal income tax in 2022, okay? And again, that's primarily because of the 2 rental properties that I bought last year. Now, we will be renting this property out and we'll be conducting what's called a cost segregation study on this property. Doing that, we'll be able to generate roughly $100,000 in passive losses. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you guys need to go watch that video. If my wife and I claim real estate professional status, we can use those $100,000 of passive losses against my W-2 income and drop my income by $100,000. So if we were reporting to the IRS, hey, we made $400,000, now we can report to the IRS, hey, we actually only made $300,000. And that's how you're going to lower your tax bill. So if you were to drop your AGI or your adjusted gross income by $100,000 at our tax bracket, that would save us close to $20,000 in federal income tax. So why is that significant? Because it means that I only put $50,000 down for this home and I'm getting back $20,000 in the form of tax savings. So how much did I really buy this home for? Effectively, $30K. And at $30K down, this home's gonna cash flow about $500 per month. That's $6,000 per year. That's a 20% cash on cash return. And that's not even factoring in the fact that I have a 2.75% interest rate and my loan balance is getting paid down very, very, very quickly because of that low interest rate. And also a small side note is that this home was constructed in 2020. And so it's relatively new, so I don't expect too much headache in terms of capital expenditures. I've had so many people reaching out to learn more about the strategy, so I thought I'd just put this all into one video so that I can just send this video to those people asking. So if you guys want to connect, I only offer one-on-one strategy calls. If you're interested, you guys can go ahead, set up a time with me. The link is in the description below. But if you have any other questions, leave them in the comments and I'll reply back. Don't forget to subscribe, guys. I have another really cool video coming out for you guys next week. So stay tuned and happy holidays, guys. Peace out, guys.